All right, so let's do a deep dive into what was a pretty wild day. Tuesday, March 4th, 2025, in the global financial markets.
Yeah, no kidding.
We've got this analysis, uh, 2025 global financial market volatility, trade tensions, and political impacts.
Catchy title.
And, even if you're not like constantly checking your stocks or anything, what happens in the markets really does affect, everyone.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's like that bigger picture of the economy,
Yeah.
that affects, like how much your savings are worth and, the price of pretty much everything.
Absolutely. And what we're going to see in this analysis is how like global stuff, even political decisions,
Yeah.
can like really shake things up in the markets and make those, big swings happen.
Yeah, exactly. So let's start with what happened in the U.S.
Huh.
So the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is like a group of 30 big U.S. companies that fell by 1.6%.
Wow.
And the S&P 500, which tracks 500 companies, so a wider view, that was down 1.2%. And get this, the S&P 500, it hit its lowest point since before the election in November.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's got to be, like a sign of something.
Yeah, I mean, when you see such a, a big drop like that, it usually means that people aren't so confident about, the economy growing in the future.
Right.
Think of it like this. Investors, they're basically betting on companies to do well. Right. So when they see like uncertainty or things that might, threaten that growth, like maybe a trade war,
Right.
they tend to pull back their money. And that leads to, a sell-off and then prices drop.
Okay, so let's talk about what happened in the tech sector, which really got hit hard.
Oh, yeah.
Tesla in particular dropped by 5.5%.
Whoa.
That's a huge drop for a company that's, usually seen as like a leader.
Right. And that actually ties directly into their problems in China, which the analysis talks about. Their sales over there have been like going down. And it makes you wonder if, this is part of a bigger change happening in the electric vehicle market. Maybe competitors are catching up. It's something to definitely watch.
Yeah. That makes me think about NVIDIA.
Okay.
So they had some losses too at the beginning, but they only ended up down 0.5%. So it seems like they're handling things a little better than some others.
Interesting.
But wait a second. You were saying earlier that they have like a lot of different products.
Right.
But don't they still rely a lot on China for making those products?
Yeah.
So what did the trade tensions affect them too?
That's a great point. It is interesting how well they're doing. Maybe investors see them as, less vulnerable because they're not like totally focused on just one market.
Right.
Like Tesla seems to be with China. Or maybe it's because their technology, especially with AI becoming so big, is just, too important to ignore.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so now zooming out to the global picture, it's important to remember that, the U.S. market wasn't the only one that went down.
Right.
European markets also fell, similar amounts.
Yeah.
But Asia's different. The report mentions mixed reactions there.
Yeah, that's really interesting because it shows how connected all the global markets are.
Right.
Europe usually follows the U.S. trends, but Asia seems to be reacting in its own way. Maybe some of their economies aren't as dependent on trade with the U.S.
Right.
Or maybe they see like opportunities in all this uncertainty. It's definitely something to look into more.
All right, so let's talk about the big political thing that happened was President Trump's address to Congress.
Okay.
He announced new tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China, and, well,
Big news.
yeah, it caused a lot of, reactions.
Absolutely. The analysis specifically mentioned, Democrats protesting and Republicans supporting it.
Right.
And that kind of, divide just adds more, uncertainty to everything.
Yeah.
Markets like things to be predictable.
Makes sense.
And when you throw in this much political tension and a possible trade war, it makes investors nervous.
Yeah, no kidding. And speaking of nervousness, the report talked about how banks and brokerage firms lost a lot of money.
Right.
What's going on there?
Well, think of the financial sector like a gauge for the whole economy.
Okay.
Banks make money by lending money, and brokerage firms help people invest.
Right.
But when there's worry about the economy slowing down, like what could happen with these trade tensions,
Right.
it directly affects their business companies. And people don't want to take out loans or invest as much, and that means less profits for those financial institutions.
So it sounds like everyone's kind of waiting to see what happens next.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really, fluid situation. Things could change quickly.
Right.
I guess as a final thought, I'd say, don't just pay attention to the stock prices.
Yeah.
Look at other things, too, like how confident consumers are, how many jobs are being created, and what's happening with inflation. If people are feeling good, they spend money, and that's a good sign.
Right.
But if inflation is also high, that means everything's getting more expensive, and that can cause problems.
Right.
So those indicators, along with what's going on in the markets, can give you a much better understanding of where the economy might be going.
Awesome. Well, this has been a really informative deep dive.
My pleasure.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And to all our listeners out there, stay informed, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.
See you later. Bye.